Welcome back to another Technique Tuesday, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me. Today, we will be discussing the lead hand hook, which was used to devastating effect this past weekend in UFC 241. At the end of this video, I want to be showing you guys how this hook was used at UFC 241, so make sure you stick around. So let's get in this lead hand hook a little bit. Let's talk about it. Now, the lead hand hook can be used many different ways. It can be thrown to the head, it can be thrown to the body. I can move forward, I can cover distance with the lead hand hook. You got a long distance and you got a short range hook as well. You can also use this as a counter punch as you evade. So many different ways to use it. It's very versatile and used to set up other techniques. So how you use it really depends on the situation that you're in. I like to use the lead hand hook many different ways. Number one of my favorite boxers of all time, Roy Jones Jr., was super effective with the lead hand hook. So he would use it to bait their partner a little bit. He would throw the jab to the body, and get his opponent to react to that jab. As his opponent would drop his hands, he would come up covering the distance and hit him with the lead hand hook. If he didn't knock him out with the lead hand hook, it was used to set up the backhand. I like to use it as well defensively or as a counter. You go back and watch my Johnny Hendricks or even the second fight with Tyron Woodley, I used it a lot. Guys with big sweeping punches or love to throw the jab, as they come forward, I'll actually shuffle back to throw the lead hand hook as well. And even with that, even if I don't hurt them, I can still sit down on my punches and follow up with the right hand. Now, to break this technique down a little bit, we're gonna start with the short hook. Now, I'm in my fighting stance. Whenever I throw my lead hand hook, I wanna get a few things happening at once. Number one is, as I throw my lead hand hook, I wanna make sure that my elbow is behind my hand. All right, if my elbow is down slightly, there's a little give there that's gonna happen. That punch is not gonna be as solid. So I want my elbow to be up, and as I throw and torque my body, my front foot needs to pivot slightly, and I torque my hip and my shoulder immediately at the same time. Now, as I throw my hook, I like to throw my hands straight up and down, have my fist straight up, so vertical, not parallel to the floor. There's some guys that do that, there's nothing wrong with it, but I feel sometimes when you do this, you end up hitting with the two small knuckles, and that's how you get those boxer fractures. So I like to go here. So as I throw the hook, if you see, I torque the shoulder, I turn the hip and the foot almost simultaneously. Here, backhand comes up, just like so. And you can use that torque back to throw with your right hand as well. So that's the short hook. When you get into the long hook, it's a little bit different. There's not gonna be as much pivot on that front foot because you're almost kind of reaching for it. So you really gotta focus on the torque of the hip and the shoulder whenever you do the long hook. Now remember, the long hook, you may not get as much power as the short hook because the arm is more straightened out, and there can be a little give there in that elbow once it makes contact, as you can see. Here, it's more solid. Out, you got a little give there, so you gotta watch out. It takes a little bit of practice. Not saying you can't knock anybody out with it, because I've seen it happen many times. Make sure that you got that torque in the shoulder and the hip to make that power in that hand. One little tip too is that you can also roll that fist over as well, depending on what kind of gloves you have. A lot of people find it very difficult with the MMA gloves because you're hitting with this part, especially with the long hook. You're hitting with the fingers. So if I roll my hand over just a little bit, I can actually hit with my knuckles first on that long hook. I've seen that to great effect before in the UFC fights. Now, I haven't seen it much in boxing, mostly MMA. So I got my gloves on. I'm gonna bring my bro Tony out here. We're gonna demonstrate this for you. We're gonna go over the short hook first. All right, so I'm in my fighting stance. My bro Tony's got his pad out there. Now, the short hook, like I said, you want the elbow slightly above, but you want it directly behind the fist. I like to have my fist vertical, okay? Now remember, to get power, torque of the front foot, the hip, and the shoulder at the same time. So as I go, that's what I want right there. I can use as the guy comes in, or I can step in to throw my short lead hand hook. So I'm here, short lead hand hook, or I can back up and throw that lead hand hook as well. Here, but making sure that I'm not slapping my hook. Keep that elbow behind. And you can throw that lead hand hook also to the body. All right, now let's discuss the long range hook now. Now I like to use this lead hand hook a little bit farther out because I like to keep my distance. I find myself short range, then I'll start throwing those shorter hooks, but I like to keep the distance, so we're gonna talk about that long range as well. So he's got the target out there. Now, when I do my long range, I like to step in with the front foot. It really depends on how far my opponent is away. Sometimes I'll move both. Sometimes I'll just step in and throw that long hook. So long hook, making sure that my elbow is still high, making sure that my fist is in good position. Long hook, just like so. So I'm stepping in, I'll use my movement a little bit to kind of disguise any telegraph, just like so. You can still knock guys out with that lead hand long range hook too. I like to use it to set up the big power hand. To get him thinking one, to block, to throw that right hand down the middle. So I'll go, just like so. I'll shuffle in. Lead hand hook, right hand, y'all. All right, so now let's talk about how Stipe used this lead hand hook, not to the head, but to the body against DC. Now, during the fight, they both had left side forward. We're gonna switch for you so you can actually see the right hand going to the body. Now, Stipe finally in the 4th round decided, you know what, I gotta do something. Striking this dude in the head is not working too well, so he used that lead hand hook to the body to set up the big power hand. So the only thing he did, he threw a lot of jabs, all right, to get Cormier's hands to come up, and then he would step in and throw a lead hand hook to that body. Now let me tell you, body shots slow you down. That's the worst thing possible. It disrupts your breathing, makes you more tired, and you can actually see it during the fight. So he used that jab, bang, he would step in, boom, he'd actually sit down a little bit on it to get more power. Jab, jab, step in, boom, to the body. And then when the knockout came, he threw one to the body, he backed up, he got DC thinking body again. Boom, Stipe dropped him with that right hand. He fell to the cage, and then he ground and pounded him out. All right, so that's it, guys. Lead hand hook. If you haven't checked out the fight this past weekend, UFC 241, make sure you check out Stipe using that lead hand hook to the body. Very effective. Put out DC. Another great hook this past weekend was Yusuf versus Benitez. Yusuf used that counter right hook to knock out. It wasn't a lead hand hook, but it was an effective backhand hook, counter hook. Check it out, knocking out Benitez. It was awesome. So thank you guys for joining me for this Technique Tuesday lead hand hook. Make sure you work on it over and over again. Remember, practice makes permanent, not perfect, makes it permanent. So make sure you practice correctly. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you for joining me. Lead hand hook, go practice.